Welcome back to Global Eye, everyone. Today we're diving into a story that's breaking the internet right now. And if you haven't heard about it yet, you're about to understand why Jonathan Bailey becoming 2025's Sexiest Man Alive is so much more than just another magazine cover. This is a cultural moment, a shift in how we see masculinity, sexuality, and what it means to be a leading man in Hollywood. We're talking about a 46-year-old British actor who spent decades working in theater, who came out publicly when it could have ended his career, who fought against typecasting, and who is now standing at the absolute pinnacle of global recognition. But here's what nobody is talking about. The journey to get here was filled with rejection, prejudice, and moments where Jonathan almost walked away from acting entirely. So if you're ready to go beyond the headlines and understand the real story of how a boy from Oxfordshire became the man everyone's talking about in 2025, stay with me for the next 18 minutes. Hit that subscribe button because this story is going to change how you see success, perseverance, and authenticity in Hollywood. Jonathan Stewart Bailey was born on April 25, 1988 in Wallingford, Oxfordshire, and from the very beginning he was different from the other kids in his town. While his classmates were obsessed with football and typical boyhood pursuits, Jonathan was drawn to performance, to storytelling, to the magic of transformation that happens on stage. He attended Magdalen College School in Oxford, a prestigious institution with a strong dramatic tradition. And it was there that he first discovered his passion for acting. But this wasn't some fairy tale beginning where everyone recognized his talent and encouraged him. Jonathan has spoken in interviews about feeling isolated as a young person who knew he was different but couldn't quite articulate how or why. He grew up in a loving family, but in the rural English countryside of the 90s, there weren't many examples of openly gay men living authentic lives, especially not in the performing arts. He threw himself into school productions and local theater, using performance as a way to explore identities and emotions he couldn't express in his daily life. At 15, he made a decision that would shape his entire future. He auditioned for and was accepted into the National Youth Music Theatre. This was his first real taste of professional-level training, working alongside other young people who were just as passionate and committed as he was. It was also where he began to understand that being an actor wasn't just about talent. It was about resilience, thick skin, and the ability to handle constant rejection. After finishing school, Jonathan moved to London to pursue acting professionally. And this is where the real struggle began. He attended the Open University, studying part-time while auditioning constantly, taking any work he could get. His early career was a patchwork of small television roles, theater productions that paid almost nothing, and endless casting calls where he was told he was too theatrical, not masculine enough, or simply not right for the part. Between 2001 and 2010, Jonathan worked steadily but never broke through to leading roles. He appeared in television shows like Doctors, Holby City, and Casualty, the kind of British medical dramas where hundreds of actors cut their teeth playing patients or minor characters. He did regional theater productions where he'd perform for tiny audiences and venues outside London, making barely enough money to cover rent. What most people don't understand about this period is the psychological toll of being a working actor who isn't quite making it. Jonathan has discussed in interviews with Attitude magazine and The Guardian how he watched contemporaries land major roles while he remained on the periphery. He was good enough to keep working, but not successful enough to feel secure. During this time, he was also grappling with his sexuality privately, knowing that coming out could limit his opportunities even further. The British entertainment industry in the late 2000s and early 2010s was still deeply closeted when it came to leading men, and Jonathan saw how openly gay actors were consistently passed over for romantic leads or action roles. Jonathan's first significant break came in 2013 when he was cast in the BBC drama Broadchurch alongside David Tennant and Olivia Colman. The show became a massive hit, one of the most watched British dramas of the decade, and Jonathan played Ollie Stevens, a journalist who becomes entangled in the murder investigation at the show's center. This should have been his launching pad to stardom, but it wasn't. Despite the show's success, Jonathan remained a supporting player, and when Broadchurch ended, he found himself back in the same cycle of auditions and rejections. He continued working in theater, taking roles at the National Theatre and in West End productions, including a critically acclaimed performance in the last 5 years in 2016, and later in Company in 2018, where he played Jamie. His performance in Company earned him an Olivier Award, Britain's highest theatrical honor, in 2019. Yet even with this recognition, Hollywood wasn't calling. Jonathan has been remarkably candid about this period, telling publications like Vanity Fair and Elle that he felt invisible, like he was doing excellent work that nobody outside the theater world noticed or cared about. He was approaching his 30s, the age when male actors either break through or accept they'll remain character actors forever, and he was terrified he'd made the wrong career choice. The financial instability was constant, never knowing if the next job would come, unable to plan for the future, or feel secure in his profession. In 2020, as the world shut down during the pandemic, Jonathan made a decision that he knew could end his career before it truly began. He publicly came out as gay. He'd been out to friends and family for years, but publicly acknowledging his sexuality was different, especially for an actor who still harbored ambitions of playing leading men in major productions. He spoke about his decision in an interview with GQ, explaining that he could no longer live with the cognitive dissonance of being one person in his private life and another in public. The response was overwhelmingly positive from fans and the LGBTQ community, but Jonathan has also talked about the professional concerns that came with this decision. His agents worried it would limit his opportunities, that he'd only be offered gay roles, and that American studios wouldn't see him as a viable romantic lead. For several months after coming out, those fears seemed justified. The auditions that came his way were almost exclusively for explicitly gay characters, and when he auditioned for straight roles, he felt a shift in how casting directors perceived him. This is the reality that many LGBTQ actors face. The moment they're open about their identity, the industry starts putting them in boxes, limiting what they're allowed to be. Jonathan has spoken about the frustration of this period, feeling like he'd fought so hard to be seen as a serious actor only to be reduced to one aspect of his identity. Then came the audition that would transform everything. Netflix was casting for the second season of Bridgerton, their wildly successful Regency-era romance series, and they were looking for someone to play Anthony, the Bridgerton, the eldest sibling and Viscount, who would be the romantic lead of the season. The character required someone who could be authoritative and vulnerable, rakish and responsible, someone who could carry an entire season on their shoulders. Jonathan auditioned and landed the role, but even then, he wasn't sure what it would mean for his career. Bridgerton Season 2 was released in March 2022, and it became a global phenomenon. Jonathan's performance as Anthony, particularly his chemistry with co-star Simone Ashley, captivated millions of viewers worldwide. The show broke Netflix viewing records, and suddenly, Jonathan Bailey was an international star. Social media exploded with fan accounts dedicated to him. Fashion magazines wanted him for covers, and most importantly, major studios started calling with offers. What made his success even more significant was that he'd achieved it as an openly gay man playing a heterosexual romantic lead, proving that audiences didn't care about an actor's personal life if the performance was compelling. Jonathan has described this period as surreal and overwhelming, going from relative obscurity to being recognized everywhere he went. But he's also been thoughtful about using his platform responsibly, speaking out about LGBTQ representation in the industry and refusing to hide who he is despite his newfound mainstream success. Following Bridgerton, Jonathan made strategic choices about his career that showed remarkable artistic integrity. He didn't simply take the biggest paycheck or the most obvious roles. Instead, he chose projects that challenged him and expanded his range. In 2024, he appeared in Fellow Travelers, a Showtime limited series about a decade-spanning romance between two men during the McCarthy era and beyond. His performance earned him Emmy and Golden Globe nominations and critical acclaim for portraying the complexities of a gay relationship across American history. He also joined the cast of Wicked as Fiyero, the romantic lead opposite Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, a major studio musical that would introduce him to an even broader audience when it was released in late 2024. These choices demonstrated that Jonathan wasn't interested in being pigeonholed as either a romantic lead or a serious dramatic actor. He wanted to do everything. Throughout 2024 and into early 2025, Jonathan became increasingly visible as both an actor and an advocate. He used his interviews and public appearances to discuss the importance of LGBTQ representation in the industry, the challenges of being an openly gay actor in Hollywood, and his hopes for a more inclusive industry. He became a role model for young queer people who saw in him proof that you could be authentic and successful simultaneously.
Which brings us to the announcement that shocked and delighted millions. People magazine naming Jonathan Bailey as 2025's Sexiest Man Alive. This isn't just a fun celebrity designation, it's a cultural statement about how far we've come and how much further we still need to go. Jonathan is the first openly gay man to receive this honor, a recognition that challenges traditional notions of masculine desirability and representation. When the announcement was made, the internet exploded with celebration, particularly from the LGBTQ community, who saw this as validation and visibility in a mainstream context that has historically excluded them. Jonathan's response to the honor has been characteristically gracious and thoughtful. In his interview with People magazine for the cover story, he talked about feeling overwhelmed by the recognition, but also aware of the responsibility that comes with it. He acknowledged the generations of LGBTQ actors who weren't able to be open about their identities, who had to hide who they were to maintain their careers, and he dedicated the honor to them. He also spoke about his hope that this recognition would help young people, particularly young queer people, see themselves reflected in definitions of attractiveness and desirability that have traditionally excluded them. The significance of this moment extends beyond Jonathan himself. It represents a shift in how mainstream media and culture are willing to acknowledge and celebrate LGBTQ people not as separate or other, but as fully integrated into the fabric of what we consider aspirational and attractive. It's proof that audiences are ready for more diverse representations of masculinity, sexuality, and desirability than the industry has traditionally offered. For Jonathan personally, this moment represents the culmination of decades of struggle, rejection, and perseverance. Every small theater role, every audition where he was told he wasn't right, every moment of doubt about whether he should continue acting, every fear about coming up publicly, it all led to this moment of recognition and celebration. The journey from that young boy in Oxfordshire who felt different and isolated to becoming one of the most celebrated and desired men in the world is a testament to the power of authenticity, talent, and refusing to let others define your limitations. As Jonathan moves forward in his career with major film projects, continued success in Bridgerton, and increasing influence in the industry, this recognition as 2025's Sexiest Man Alive will be remembered as more than just a magazine cover. It's a milestone in LGBTQ representation, a challenge to outdated notions of masculinity and desirability, and proof that the world is changing, slowly but surely, toward greater acceptance and celebration of all forms of human beauty and talent.